This week on the agenda, sustainability in space. I'm here at the Farnborough International Space Show to discover why travelling beyond our atmosphere can't cost the Earth. As the space race hots up once again, representatives of more than 50 countries are here at the Farnborough International Space Show to focus on sustainability. Just how can science, data and technology drive sustainable progress, not just here on Earth, but beyond? With space-based data revolutionizing climate monitoring, how do we make the most of it to tackle environmental crises? And as space debris piles up, how much of a threat does it pose to future missions? To find out more, I spoke to Huadong, Director General of the International Research Centre of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals. We're here at the Farnborough International Space Show. How important are events like this to you and to the space community?
For me, it's the first time to be here. To my surprise, so big event. I see a lot, not only friends, but also the show, it really advanced, little to my surprise. Yeah.
And for the space community, why is it important to bring all of these businesses together?
It's really important because, knowledge is so important. So I really enjoy this situation.
And what messages are you hoping to share about big data and sustainable development when it comes to space?
Sustainable development goals is really, United Nations 2030 agenda is really, really important, not only to one country, but it's to the whole world. But how to monitor it, how to evaluate that, the big data is really, really important. Without big data, we cannot monitor that. Now we can use the big data to evaluate all of the, SDG indicators.
So give me a couple of examples of how you're using big data to reach those sustainable development goals.
SDG just lasts about 15 years from the 15 to 2030. But 15 years is a very, very long time. How to evaluate that? So we should use the big data. So my team in the past about 8 years, we're using big data.
Now, cooperation in space is very much part of China's approach. So how important are partnerships, and which collaborations do you think are the ones to watch in 2025?
Cooperation is very, very important. People from different countries should work together. So what I said, by using science technology, the people's the tool, common tool, and here SDG, the people's the common goals work together. So people should, collaboration, bilateral collaboration, multi-collaboration, different countries, different areas, people work together, collaboration. No cooperation, no success. That's my deep feeling. We should do deep collaboration, and collaboration. Then we can do innovation, and innovation.
So do you think there should be a global set of rules? A global set of rules for space so that everyone can manage the exploration more sustainably?
Yeah, sure. For the future, for the global situation, it's very important. We should work together.
Saying, should there be a global set of rules for the world to explore space responsibly and sustainably? And you said yes. So who's going to create that set of rules? Great question. What I said already, one Earth, one Mars, one Moon. So in the future, when people from different countries to do this, we should, have the great responsibility. We should, use these tools to study that for peaceful use, for humankind. Huadong, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
If space exploration is to become truly sustainable, the world is going to have to develop a brand new skill set to keep pace with new technological demands. To find out more about the need for such a workforce, I spoke to Leo Buchner, former president of EUROAVIA, the European Association of Aerospace Students. Everyone wants to be an astronaut when they grow up, don't they? But there are plenty of other opportunities in the space sector, aren't there?
Absolutely. Many of us start by wanting to be a pilot, wanting to be an astronaut, and that's kind of the vision that's projected for an aerospace, especially a space career. But there's so many other opportunities and paths, technical and non-technical, that students can take when they want to take a role in the space sector.
Okay, so give me a few examples.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that we've learned recently is there's a payload center of ESA that is in Darmstadt in Germany. They have, we can't even fathom the amounts of data that they have, that they collect out of their Earth observation teams. Nobody's using them. So we have this market in space. We have downstream and upstream industries in the space sector. And there's so much more to it than just the ISS and the astronauts that do research there. So there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of things that we already, and especially data that we already draw out of that. And our students, they're the ones that we expect to make use of the resources that we draw out of space.
How can we ensure that students are getting the right training they need to embrace new space technologies?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm from Germany, and I've been taking the path into the aerospace and space sector through a mechanical engineering mindset. So the same study fields that somebody that wanted to, design train engines 150 years ago. And that's sort of outdated now. For the skills that are relevant in the space sector in the future, we need more than just that old-fashioned approach of mechanical engineering. And there's a lot of people that start doing that. Especially what we need now is that those people that are passionate about space, that want to contribute to development and innovation in space, that they that they get formation, upskilling on the things that are relevant, that nobody perceives a skill gap in between graduation and their first relevant input and impact that they have in the industry.
You're talking about getting the best people with the best skills, but that's going to cost money to lure them, isn't it? Is enough being spent on space?
That's a good point. Money is always easy to spend when there's a direct return on investment. I don't think that we lack money at that point. In Europe, one of the changes that we've made, or that were made in the past couple of years, is that we stopped looking at investment, especially in terms of education, from a very strong, dominant top-down perspective. The trickle-down effects of large-scale investments, they happen too slowly and they're not directional enough. So something that happened more and more is that local initiatives, local activities that have a bottom-up effect were promoted more strongly. And this is where our decentralized organization, EUROAVIA, is very powerful.
But many governments are talking the talk, aren't they? Saying that they want to pump more money into resources to upskill, particularly in science and technology areas, and that obviously incorporates space.
Yes.
Are they putting their money where their mouth is? You've got new government in Germany, other governments around the world. Big promises to the electorate.
Absolutely. We definitely need to be patient to evaluate all of that investment's effect in the next couple of years. Money is always something that is relevant for an organization like ours to work, and we definitely hope that we can use our presence at an event like this to make a strong impact on our perception and draw the resources that we need in order to fulfill our mission.
Let's talk about exciting new technologies. AI, quantum computing, they're revolutionizing industries. How do you think the next generation of space scientists can harness that power?
Well, it is always going to be teeny bit more difficult to harness some of these things in aerospace than in other industries. It takes certification processes, safety, the public perception of things that can go wrong is especially in Europe. It is very. We have to loosen the brakes. So it's not necessarily the technologies themselves, I believe, that are going to make the difference in especially Europe to propel ourselves forward and to promote innovation. It is also our perception of how we do the things that we do. Look at SpaceX. SpaceX is allowed to fail, and that is one of the biggest achievements that company has. Their efforts and their failures have put them to be the most successful private launch company ever, and they're not about to lose that position anytime soon. 2024 marked the record number of private launches just by SpaceX alone, and 2025 will be no different. In Europe, we lag behind. Access to space isn't necessarily a resource that we're lacking because of the misuse or lacking use of technologies. It is our mindset as Europeans that we need to improve. And if we do that and develop an openness for these drastically changing technological means that are available at our hands, then yes, that will make it even further and catalyze these effects.
Leo, thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a break now, but do stay with us, as still to come here on the agenda from the Farnborough International Space Show, Powering the Future. Where will the energy needed for the next generation of spacecraft come from? Welcome back to the agenda from here at the Farnborough International Space Show. As our ambitions in space increase, the big issue becomes the development of innovative and sustainable energy systems. If we're ever going to have the lunar bases many organisations have promised, what's going to power that progress? I spoke to Katie Jarman, Assistant Chief Engineer for Space at Rolls-Royce, to find out more. So how are space missions getting more complex and more energy intensive?
As the space economy expands and as we do more and more stuff in space, we're necessarily going to need a whole bunch of extra power in different regions. So at the moment, we're still limited by only operating where the sun shines, but technologies like nuclear can really help us be a lot more flexible, both on the lunar surface and in wider cislunar space and out beyond.
Rolls-Royce is very much associated with civil aircraft and for building the reactors for Royal Navy submarines. So how are you using that nuclear expertise in space?
This is the perfect project for us, really, because it's a mashup of two things that we're very good at. Gas turbine machinery, and also small nuclear reactors. It's a really great opportunity to show how the two sides of the business can come together and innovate to really solve one of the future of humanity's problems. What's even better is the fact that we can use all of that learning and all of that experience on Earth as well to decarbonise traditionally hard to decarbonise industries with clean electricity production and high-grade heat as well.
So sustainability really fits in then to the whole Rolls space programme?
Yeah, definitely. And if we can put a micro-reactor on the moon and operate it safely and launch it, we can put one anywhere on Earth. We shouldn't be limited by where we've traditionally seen nuclear reactors on the planet. We can reach remote communities, we can reach mines where it's very, very difficult to connect to national grid infrastructure, and we can even power things like data centers and other very, very high intense energy draining industries.
But is nuclear in space new?
No, not at all. Nuclear reactors have been launched into space before. From a fission perspective, the SNAP-10A reactor was launched in the 60s, and even more recently we've been using radioisotope power systems to provide persistent and resilient power on Mars and out into the solar system. I think Matt Damon used one in The Martian.
So what Rolls is doing is a little bit different though. I mean, you mentioned getting to the moon. I know you've been working with the UK Space Agency since 2021, looking at how nuclear power can be used as part of space exploration. So tell us a little bit about Rolls-Royce's plans in particular to have that reactor ready to get to the moon by 2029?
2029 to early 2030s. You can see a model behind me, which is something that we built a couple of years ago to basically use to educate people and explain to the wider population and public how nuclear reactors work and why we're confident that this is the right technology to power lunar bases and to enable wider scientific exploration into the solar system. We've been really lucky with the support from the Space Agency, and we've had a number of contracts with them. Most notably, the two ones that we're working on at the moment are both proving that we can work with our partners in the US. We're working with BWX Technologies on various trade studies on the specific technology choices that we can be making now to enable this technology to solve a wide range of problems across the solar system. And we've also got our kind of workhorse design program that we're also running with the team in Derby to try and articulate all of the requirements that we need the system to do based on the NASA statement of work, and then decompose that into an actual technological solution along with the test programs that we're going to need to run to build confidence in the technology so that when we turn it on the moon, it will work first time.
Well, we know that a reactor needs to be lightweight and durable as well as being powerful, but give us an idea of how big it is, what it looks like, how it works. I mean, is this a prototype?
I wouldn't say a prototype, but it is a model demonstrator. So this is to scale. It obviously doesn't work with any actual nuclear material and it can't generate any electricity, but it is really indicative of this type of technologies that we are going to be using and a lot of the scale and the bits that move as well.
But looking at what goes into it, we're talking some rare minerals, low enriched uranium, graphite. That then raises, I suppose, lots of questions about safe storage, about disposal. I mean, how mindful are you about the potential risks?
Very mindful. We're spending a lot of time up front looking at the full life cycle of all of the materials and all of the technologies that we're going to be using. So even now, when we're still in concept design phase, we're thinking about how we are going to dispose of it, how we can be responsible and sustainable with our design so that that is less challenging than it otherwise would be.
Now, every operation on the moon is going to require power. You've spoken already about some of your partnerships, but where else do you see potential collaboration? Where are the opportunities?
There's opportunities everywhere. As everyone always says, it's going to take a village to provide a permanent human presence on the moon. We are very sensitive to the fact that we're not a space company. We've done bits and pieces, but we're going to need to partner with companies that really, really know what they're doing and have launched things. Not least because we're going to be relying on all of the other kit that's up there. Their people are going to be relying on us to provide the power. And it's how that whole lunar architecture and infrastructure develops will dictate how we design our microreactor and how it's going to be used going forwards.
That's all of the science behind it, but what about the people? I know that technology is evolving super fast. We've got AI, we've got quantum computing, we've got robotics, but how are you going to make sure that you've got the workforce to make this happen?
We're very sensitive to that in the nuclear industry because we know that nuclear skills are very sought after and it's becoming increasingly competitive with the nuclear renaissance across small modular reactors, advanced modular reactors, fuel manufacturing. And even as the Rolls-Royce nuclear portfolio expands into those other technologies and our terrestrial programs, we need to make sure we are getting the workforce and we're getting the skills in the door so that we can solve the world's problems, particularly around climate change. We've got initiatives such as the Rolls-Royce Mass Tutoring Scheme, which I'm particularly passionate about, where about 100 volunteers from across Rolls-Royce in Derby go into local schools and help children with their maths on a one-to-one basis. That's shown to be really effective in building their confidence and their mathematical capability, and also stuff like the space microreactor, going into a school and saying, oh, hey, do you want to work on space nuclear, is amazing. It's a surefire way of making sure that they are really engaged with their maths. We've also got programs such as the Nuclear Skills Academy, where we are training people up to have those nuclear skills right from kind of 16 to 18-year-olds, so that we have the future pipeline of talent into the business, and that's kind of sustainable.
So you're powering the next generation as well as powering space.
You could say that.
Katie Jarman, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
One of the other key issues affecting sustainability in space is the amount of debris man has already left there. As aging satellites run out of gas, they're left to continue to orbit the Earth, possibly jeopardizing future missions. So what can be done to clean up the atmosphere? I spoke to Andrea Antonello, head of robotics at ClearSpace. Just what is space debris and why is it such a problem?
Yeah, so space debris is anything that is man-made and it's in orbit, and it's basically a problem because it's something that it's a projectile in space that could potentially collide with other objects. It can be anything from a small piece of metal to a screwdriver left over by an astronaut while doing a repair. It could also be something as big as a rocket body that was left there. And it's a massive problem because they're basically object orbiting, staying there forever sometimes, and they can pose great risk to other existing assets.
But there's a paradox, isn't there? Because we need to send more stuff into space so that we can solve the problems here on Earth, but that's causing more space debris.
Yeah, that's true. I think it goes back to how we dealt with satellites years ago, in which this problem was not necessarily managed. So we just sent objects to space without really thinking about their demise and their disposal. And so those objects from the 80s, the 90s are still there, orbiting, right? And sometimes it happens that they break down and they form like a cloud of debris that will hit other spacecraft, other objects, and you can clearly see that there's a potential for a chain reaction. It actually, this has a name, it's called Kessler syndrome, in which there's a theory in which it's going to be an explosion, which will cause another explosion, and this will trigger kind of a domino effect, rendering space basically unusable for decades. We actually got very close to it. I think it was 2009, in which a Soviet satellite got hit, and it basically exploded in a cloud of debris. And for a few weeks, it was very difficult to send things back to space.
Okay, so where do you fit in? Where does your business fit in? And what are you doing differently?
So ClearSpace started as an active debris removal company, which means actively removing some of this debris. Now, that's still the focus, but we're also focusing in in-orbit servicing as a whole. But the idea is that we're going to send a couple of spacecraft, one in collaboration with the European Space Agency and one with the UK Space Agency, to target a couple of defunct man-made objects and bringing them back to Earth by basically dissolving them in the atmosphere. The idea is that we get close to them, we hug them with our capture system, and then we lower the orbit. We release it, and then this object, they're typically a UK satellite for the UK mission and a piece of a European spacecraft in case of the European mission.
And you're using robotics to do it?
Yeah, we're using robotics to do it. So we have a capture system. We call it the claw or the tentacles. There are 4 robotic arms that are going to close the satellite, and they're going to hug it. And then together you move to a lower orbit by slowing down the speed. You open the claws and you move away. And that satellite is going to decay into orbit.
But right now, you're more at the ideas stage, aren't you? I mean, you've got some things planned, so what's it going to take to get there?
Yeah, so we already have 2 missions scheduled. One with the European Space Agency called ClearSpace 1, and one with the UK Space Agency, which is still at the initial phase, let's say. It's going to take a lot of engineering effort. It's going to take probably a few more years, but we have scheduled launches in the next few years, say 2027, 2028.
Okay, so once you've captured that debris, I love the way you described it by hugging it.
Yeah.
What happens next? Is it recyclable?
Not really, at least at this stage. So when we're doing active debris removal, we're just going to capture it and we're going to dispose of it by burning it into the atmosphere. We're not really going to recycle it. However, there are parts of in-orbit surfacing that target more the reusability of a spacecraft, for example, by refueling it or doing some repairs. That's, let's say, a way to recycle it by providing more fuel. So there's this nice parallel that I like to make. Sometimes you have a fully functioning satellite and what you're lacking is just the fuel to control it because you run out of it. So it's like you're driving in the motorway, you finish the fuel and you change car. Doesn't make sense, right? So the idea in the future is to have an infrastructure that allows you to refuel satellite that would otherwise die and stay there.
I'm interested to hear that you're working with the European Space Agency because collaboration is pretty key here, isn't it? Especially when it comes to the space sector. Where else is there room for joining up?
Yeah, so the main company was funded in Switzerland. So there's a lot of players in the European Union. So we have a lot of partners in the European Union. We have another division in the UK, collaborating with the UK Space Agency. And we recently opened another division of ClearSpace in Luxembourg. So we have a lot of collaboration internationally already.
What about China? What about India and all of the other emerging markets that have now got a presence in space?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting market, especially in the last 5 to 10 years. Those economies have grown a lot, and also their space presence. I'm thinking about the presence of China on the moon, for example. That has been incredible to see, and I really hope that going forward we can collaborate even more with Asia and also with the US.
Because what happens if the issue of space debris isn't addressed?
So what can happen again is potentially, in the worst case scenario, a chain reaction in which you have, let's say, a minefield of debris polluting Earth that are really not going anywhere. They're not gonna disappear magically. So if the issue is not addressed, the risk is that we prevent access to space for potentially generation. It sounds very bad because in today's connected world, everything is depending on satellite or space or assets that we have there. Your GPS, planes, anything that you can think of, your phone, for example. So it's a really big problem.
So the countdown's on to get your claw into space.
Exactly.
Andrea, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can watch every episode of The Agenda in full on CGTN Europe's YouTube channel. And for exclusive extra content from me, my guests and the rest of the team, don't forget to check out @The Agenda Show on TikTok. Coming up on a future agenda. Should the world fear China? We'll speak to author Huadong about his new book. But for now, from me, Juliet, Mann, and from all of the Agenda team here at the Farnborough International Space Show, goodbye.